All right, good morning. Welcome to the channel, everybody. It's a little after 9:30. Um, Kind of what I wanted to talk about this morning was just a couple of these democratic socialists, and we all know the ideas of these socialists. They're bananas. They're out there. Um, but these people keep getting supported and voted for, and I have no idea why. I mean, the ideas and the things that these people are talking about are very dangerous for our society. And, America has a lot of problems that need to be solved, and it's going to take some intelligent people with good ideas to solve those problems. It's always the same issues, right? This has gone on for decades and decades. Healthcare, education, affordability, right? These are always the same talking points that go on every single time. And there's no easy answer to solving it. And these some of these democratic socialists are just bananas. So the other day on Fox, we had Frances Grill on, who's a member of the Democratic Socialist Party, and she was asked by the host, okay, if the Democratic Socialist Party wants to get rid of the police and prisons, the host asked her, okay, so what if my daughter is raped? What is going to be done to find the person that did that and to make sure that they're incarcerated or removed from our streets? She was asked that question. That's a very simple question that you should be able to answer. If you have this idea, we're getting rid of the police and we're getting rid of the prisons, then you should have a pretty good pathway as to how you want to find criminals and and prosecute them, and how you want to deal with them, how you want to remove them from society. Now, right now, we have the police and detectives and things like this. They find the criminals and they remove them from society. And those criminals that are deemed dangerous are put in prison, and other criminals that break other laws are also put in prisons. Um, that's the system we have. So, what are you going to do as a democratic socialist if you want to remove police and the prison system? If you want to abolish that, what are you going to do? Um, so, the host asked her, um, if my daughter is raped, how are we going to find the person that did that? And what are we going to do to remove them from society? And she said, "Oh, I don't want to deal with right now I don't want to jump into hypotheticals." Okay, rape is not a hypothetical. People being murdered is not a hypothetical. Those happen every single day. That is not a hypothetical question. So if these socialists want to get rid of prisons and police, then what is your plan to solve crime? What's your plan to solve the crime problem in this country and keep your cities and the American public safe? They have no answer because they're just mouthpieces. All they do is talk and appeal to the mob. Um, you know, sure, the police make missteps. The prison system makes missteps. We spend a lot of money um, on the police and the prison systems, and just like any other program, there's probably a lot of waste and fraud in those programs, and that is what needs to be addressed. What you don't want is you don't want to start voting and electing for these complete lunatics that say, oh, those systems have a lot of waste and we spend a lot of money on them, so we're just going to get rid of them. No, that's not what you want to do. What you want to do is you want to clean up those programs. You want to fix them. You don't want to get rid of them. You want to fix them. That is the path forward. Just getting rid of it is not the path forward. That's going to make things worse. Um, if you think crime and things like that are bad right now, wait until we don't have any police, and wait until we release everybody from prison, and then come back and talk about this. So that was one thing, and then another thing, right? So uh, the other day, I can't remember what channel it was on. We had the DSA, the Democrat Socialists, the co-chair, Megan Romer, and she was sort of saying, "Oh yeah, you know what we're going to do? We're going to tax the hell out of the rich to fund these programs." And that was all she had to offer. That was it. That was her big idea. Tax the hell out of the rich. Now, does this sound like somebody we want in a position of power, that we want making decisions and leading groups in this country? Um, the problems that face America, like I said, are big, and it's going to take some real forethought into how we're going to solve these and address these issues. And just saying tax the hell out of the rich, and that's your plan. That's it. That's not going to solve anything. Especially as the co-chair of the Socialist Party, you should have an idea about how you're going to do these things. Free healthcare, free education, free this, all these things these socialists want to enact is going to take trillions of dollars. Okay, just taxing some billionaires and millionaires and stuff is not going to cut it. It is not going to generate the revenue that is needed. Sure, it will generate some more, um, at the cost of destroying our billionaires and millionaires that do a lot of good in this country, for all this stuff that is kind of shady. They do contribute something to society. Um, and what these socialists are doing is they're just creating class warfare, and they're just riling up the mob. That's all they're doing. They're not leaders. We don't want people like this in charge, that don't have any practical and real ideas about things. Um, you know, and and whenever they do talk, right? Um, it's always a word salad because they can't explain everything. So it's just a word salad. It's a bunch of garbage that comes out. You know, when the host asked Megan Romer about taxing the hell out of the rich, you know, and what that mean, what does that mean? What does that even mean, really? What's your plan? She just said, well, we have a democracy. What does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with anything? Like I say, it's just a word salad. I think all these democratic socialists, I think they have like a handbook, like a socialist handbook of all the like key words and stuff. So then they say that, oh, we have a big tent, we have this, we have that. They just use all these words out of some sort of playbook, and they're not applicable to things they're talking about half the time. It's just a word salad. Makes no sense. Again, does this sound like somebody we want in charge? Um, and then also, with these democratic socialists, and like Megan Romer was saying, it's like, well, we need to figure out how much money we need for these programs. Um, that's not how you do things. Okay, how you run things appropriately is you figure out, well, how much money do I have to spend, and then you structure your programs and things like that around what the funds that you have available. You don't figure out, oh, how much do I need to take out of people's pockets? That's not how you do it, because that's what's happening right now. And they, instead of, and Trump and the Republicans are doing this. They're trying to weed out some more of the waste and fraud in these programs, and that's the right step. Um, to healing and making some of these programs healthy again, is you want to make sure that you maintain the integrity of the programs and the systems that we have in place. You want to make sure that you maintain that integrity first, um, and then see where you're landing there, kind of on the spectrum of high low, with these programs. And then from there you proceed to further make fixes to funding and things like this. Um, but just saying, oh, we just need to figure out how much money we need, and then we just will take it from the billionaires. That that is not the solution. That is not a practical answer. Um, it's bananas. Those people are crazy. They don't have good ideas. These are not the people we want in charge of this country and in charge of these things, for the people. So I think I'll just leave it there. It's getting a bit long. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.